We surprisingly have a huge game in the Big Ten this Saturday as number 24 Michigan takes on number 22 Illinois in Champaign. Can the reigning national champions get back on track after their bye week, or will Illinois not only clinch bowl eligibility on Saturday, but prove to everybody that they are legitimate Big Ten title contenders in 2024? That's what we're here to answer today. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys, here with our final game of the week preview before Week 8 really gets going on Saturday. Again, a huge Big Ten matchup. Two top 25 teams. Again, did not expect that back in the preseason. But it's Michigan and Illinois. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our exclusive expert picks. Some of the best picks in the entire country, beating out over 80% of the national handicappers. We're on an 8-2 run in our best bet. We're hitting over 66% of our best bets in the NFL. If you want to win big for one of the lowest prices in the country for a full 365 days, full year-long subscription, this is the place for you. We do not want you to miss out on that at all, and no other handicapper is going to put up the records we're putting up, and no other handicapper is going to offer you this kind of deal that we are offering every single year. So go sign up and join our team today. So, Michigan being ranked, I'm sure, didn't surprise a lot of people. Maybe Michigan's struggles did. Illinois, though, sitting at 5-1 with their lone loss only by 14 on the road at Penn State, maybe is surprising quite a bit of people. And that's why this game is so intriguing, is the fact that this could propel Illinois into Big Ten title contention. This could send Michigan down to their third loss of the year, and we're not even through October yet. So a lot's at stake on Saturday afternoon. It's going to be interesting to see what these teams are made of, as Michigan has struggled mightily offensively. Illinois has looked good, but just narrowly beat the worst team in the Big Ten in Purdue by 1 point in overtime. So what teams are going to show up on Saturday? We'll start on the offensive side of the ball with Michigan, where there is no offense. Let's be honest. There is no offense for the Wolverines. They are now going to turn to their third quarterback so far this year, turning to Jack Tuttle, the 25-year-old, seventh-year quarterback transferring in from Indiana. They're hoping that he can provide some sort of spark offensively. He kind of did in their last game before their bye week against Washington, had 98 yards and a touchdown and an interception. Really has seen very little playing time throughout his collegiate career. Now is tasked with rejuvenating the offense for the reigning national champions. Michigan has the 119th ranked offense in the country, averaging just 306 yards per game. It's really, really bad. Their passing attack is even worse, ranking 132nd in the country, averaging just 115 passing yards per game. We know the Wolverines want to run the ball. That's what they're good at. They're averaging 191 rushing yards per game, led by Kalel Mullings, who has over 580 yards and 6 touchdowns on the year. But Tuttle has got to come in and give this offense a spark. You cannot stay one-dimensional and continue to win games. It's not going to happen. Michigan's been fortunate, honestly, to be sitting at 4-2, considering how bad their quarterback play has been. So they've got to find a way to get the passing game going. I'm not saying go out there and throw for 250, 300 yards, but the ability to make Illinois' defense honest, where Illinois has to respect your passing game. That's what Tuttle is tasked to do, and he's tasked doing it on the road against a top 25 opponent. Illinois, on the other hand, they've been somewhat surprising offensively, I would say, from a Brett Bielema squad. Averaging over 380 yards per game, 242 passing yards per game, nearly 140 rushing yards per game. And I've got to get a lot of praise to Luke Altmaier and what he is doing for the Fighting Illini. It's been really, really impressive. Over 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns, just 1 interception. Takes phenomenal care of the football. He's got 2 great wide receivers at his disposal. Pat Bryant leading the team with over 450 yards and 7 touchdowns. Zach Franklin, 346 yards, 1 touchdown. 4 different players for Illinois have at least 100 rushing yards on the year. So even though the rushing numbers on average haven't been that impressive, not really where you thought they'd be from a Brett Bielema-led team, this Illinois offense is still balanced. It's still a team where you have to respect the run just as much as you have to respect the pass. But my key for this game, if I'm Brett Bielema, if I'm Illinois, I'm looking at this game and I'm saying we've got the quarterback edge. There's no doubt about that. We have the offensive edge as a whole. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, you want to score a lot. You want to have some explosive plays in there. But if you can somehow put the pressure on Michigan, if you can chew up that time of possession and obviously score, and when you have long drives like that, and limit the amount of opportunities Michigan will have offensively, that's going to put a lot of pressure on Michigan to go out there and score just about every time they touch the field. And you can't help but wonder if the Wolverines would be able to do that with a new quarterback with such a bad offense. So if I'm Illinois, I'm going all out, obviously, offensively, but I'm also saying, hey, we can chew up a lot of clock. If we limit this game to where Michigan has, 5-6 possessions total, and we get a stop on at least half of those, we've got this game in the bag, especially if we're scoring points, specifically touchdowns, on those lengthy drives. So it's an interesting strategy, but that might be something that I do, is chew up a lot of clock, limit Michigan's possessions, not because Michigan's offense is explosive, but because they're so bad that if you can just get a stop or two, you've got the game in the bag. That's what I might consider doing if I'm Illinois. The thing is, it's easier said than done because Michigan's defense isn't bad. They're not nearly as good as they've been the last few years, but they're not bad. They're averaging or allowing just 336 yards per game. They're third in the nation in stopping the run, only allowing 76.3 rushing yards per game. So that's a concern for Illinois here. They might not be able to chew up that much clock on the ground, might not have much success on the ground, but they might have a lot of success through the air. Michigan is 111th in the country in stopping the pass. They're giving up nearly 260 passing yards per game. And if you don't believe me, go look at their recent games. They allowed 315 passing yards to Washington, 258 passing yards to Minnesota, 283 passing yards to USC, 246 to Texas back in week 2. They have not been able to stop the pass in just about every game they've played against a quality opponent. Even Arkansas State, they only beat them by 10. ASU had over 200 passing yards in that game. So they have not looked great against these opponents. So can they stop Luke Altmaier? A guy who doesn't make many mistakes. A guy who has been insanely accurate. A guy who has given Illinois this offensive spark for years. Illinois struggled to find a consistent, competent quarterback. Altmaier has been that guy. So if you're Michigan, you've got to hope you force a couple turnovers off of him. You've got to hope your defense leads to offense. You've got to hope, whether it's through turnovers, whether it's through just pinning Illinois deep consistently, whatever it may be, you've got to hope your defense does a good enough job that your offense either has great field position to get some points, or the defense just scores points for you and the offense doesn't have to worry about it. The defense has to lead the offense for Michigan. That's got to be their key. Illinois, their defense is not bad either. It's kind of mediocre, right? 347.8 yards per game. It's not a bad mark. 197.3 passing yards per game. It's 44th in the nation against the pass, which is not bad at all. It might not even come into play as bad as Michigan's passing offense is. The rushing defense, though, is allowing over 150 rushing yards per game. That's slightly concerning there, right? Last week against Purdue, Illinois took their foot off the gas. We're up by 24 points, allowed Purdue to crawl back into it in the second half. They were torched for 239 rushing yards, 536 yards overall against the Boilermakers, an offense that was atrocious. Again, the team that's the worst in the Big Ten, so they looked really, really bad there. They allowed 239 rushing yards against Penn State, their lone loss of the season. They allowed 186 rushing yards to Kansas, even though they won that game. So against some of the more quality teams, even against Central Michigan, they allowed, I think, over 130. Against some of the more quality teams they've played, Illinois has struggled mightily to stop the run, and that is a concern. Obviously, if you're Illinois, if you're Brett Bielema, you've got to find a way to shut that down and force Jack Tuttle and force Michigan to win the game through the air. That's the recipe for success, right? Forcing one of the worst passing offenses in the country with their now third quarterback of the year in a road environment against a top 25 team, forcing them to win the game through the air, that's what you got to do. But that's easier said than done. I'm really interested to see what this Illinois defense does after such a poor performance last week, and honestly just a poor year as a whole against the run. Michigan, is just going to ground and pound all the way out. They're going to try to bully you up front in the trenches. Illinois cannot allow that to happen. So very, very interesting concept here. The Fighting Illini aren't that great against the run. That plays to Michigan's lone offensive strength. The Wolverines are not that great against the pass. You could argue that plays to Illinois' offensive strength and plays to their best player offensively, which is their quarterback in Luke Altmaier. So a very interesting game on Saturday in Champaign. A game that has, again, major, major, major implications. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to go with the home team here. I'm going to go with the mini upset. Illinois is the higher-ranked team, yet they are nearly a 3-point, maybe 3.5-point underdog in this game against the Wolverines. And I got to tell you, I can't trust them. I cannot trust Michigan. I don't trust Michigan. So I know there's all this hype surrounding this team, a lot of high expectations. Coming out of the bye week, they fixed their issues. The new quarterback's going to work wonders. I will believe it when I see it. But I've looked at Michigan. They've been fortunate to win as many games as they've had, right? They lost to Texas. They lost to Washington. They only beat Fresno State by 20, and that game was pretty close in the fourth quarter. They only beat Arkansas State by 10. They only beat USC by 3. In the final seconds, I should add. They only beat Minnesota by 3, blowing a big lead, allowing the Golden Gophers to come back. So some very narrow victories, some very lackluster performances, and now I'm all of a sudden supposed to believe they can go on the road against a quality Illinois team and win this game? I'm not buying it. Illinois has got issues of their own, but I think they're going to take care of business. And let's just say this. Illinois, I think, would be favored in this game if they had kept their foot on the gas and beaten Purdue by 31, 35, something like that. They were up by 24 at one point. If they had still won by 24 or more, I think they'd be favored in this game. I think people are overreacting to what was nearly a disastrous loss against Purdue, but the Fighting Illini still came out on top. They're going to be bouncing back. The stadium's going to be rocking. Pop the champagne. Illinois beats the reigning national champions. Michigan takes their third loss of the year. And we're only in mid-October. Illinois jumps to 6-1, will jump into the top 20, and should absolutely be considered a legit contender in the very, very competitive Big Ten. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of those exclusive expert picks, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country, beating out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 6 years. Go sign up for those today. Again, down in the description below, thegridironexpert.com. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.